review and approve, minutes from the
I'll move
last meeting.
approval.
Oh,
Hey guys, you got all those
Switched from yours,
corrections
yep.
for me.
um,
John,
oh, wait, it's on the list.
I move we approve the minutes of July 9th.
I'll second.
Oh.
We can have discussion.
Yep.
Yeah, we got
you're
plenty
good.
of time for discussion.
Just trying to keep it moving.
Yeah.
Nope, you're right. I was looking for a word and it wasn't coming to me. I have a couple changes. Number 10, Shauna.
Mhm.
Chris Morrow asked if,
Oh, if.
not it. And then make it easier for towns to adopt. Take off the ED.
Yeah.
And in number 12, review is misspelled.
Mhm.
I tried to send you these earlier, so we didn't have to do them tonight, but. And number 12. Oh, what I remember from 12 that wasn't in here was that Kim was gonna reach out to individual select board members to get some help with facilitating the audit recommendations. And so
That would have been
didn't-
logical. I don't remember that, but it would have been logical. Yeah.
So I didn't see that in here. Take these recommendations into consideration.
That might cover it, but you could add something to
Okay.
it. I don't think it's a huge deal.
And that was it for me.
Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
So most of these corrections are on the last page. You want a fresh page and saying it. Excited.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Clean up power from Jones.
Everybody, thanks for
Yeah.
having me back. Tim Jones, Green Mountain Power, just following up on our June appearance, our original appearance where we requested the town's permission partnership to rebuild our Dairy to Weston line overhead. I think when we parted company that night, we had a couple of takeaways. One was we needed to get out in the field and meet up with the roads department, and also Mr. Bill had asked us to look at scope, potential to vary the overhead lines as they move through the village here. So what we did on the 11th, we had that meeting. The chair, the vice chair were there, some other friends of the community and the roads department. We had a good dialogue out here, outside the office here, and I think everyone was generally supportive of our project. Subsequently, we have filed 3 road cut requests for Dale, Old Tavern, and Fields Road. So those are the 3 areas where we would need to just go across the road in the dirt part of the road to build out a few sections of our underground. And so those have been submitted per Almond's request. And at that point, we agreed that our project scope really, at this point, while we set aside the village, is that our build will go from Londonderry's plan and basically stop at the bottom of Piper Hill. And that would be the rebuild. The only change there really would be doing any sort of reconfiguring of services that gets us over, behind the theater company area there, that we would kind of hold in abeyance for now. There are no issues with any of that service there, so we would just do our brand new rebuild. In terms of estimating what it will take to rebuild our line overhead or from overhead to underground in town, we're working through that right now. We were asked for an estimate. I think what I can say right now is for Green Mountain Power's share of that, the estimate just for our piece would probably be about $2,000. We talked about it today, actually, Rutland, a group of us. So we're gonna have to get our communications partners on board and certainly get V-Trans to the table to really finish that scope. We could put a better price on it, but I think probably, $10,000 is a fair target for an estimate. And of course that, that would all go towards a future project, if you will. I mean, so that'd be some pretty fairly detailed design and speccing of what that would take. But sorry, go ahead.
You mentioned 2,000 and then 10,000?
2,000 just for our piece, but in the aggregate, once we get all the other partners, we got to get V-Trans to the table. We're probably going to have to get an electrical engineer involved. Basically, we have to access all of the customers that are on service, look at everybody's service, and really kind of reverse our way back into what the demand is in the village. What everybody's services will require, what it will require, obviously, just to put the line underground, and then kind of go out from there. I think we had mentioned that typically one of the cost prohibitive aspects of this project is getting everybody else on board, such that Green Mountain Power really can't take on the 10 to 20 grand per service connection that it could possibly take to get people switched over. Single phase, fairly simple. The store, 3-phase, or the Mount Country store, based on Eric McClellan, who we met the other day. The Weston would probably be interested in 3-phase power as well. So it's a little bit more of a look at basically this quarter mile of the village and all that would entail. So
When to make all this stuff sort of fit together, when would you need us? Because I'm not sure we would be ready to vote on that 10 grand.
correct.
But it's really nice to have that number in mind. But when would you need to know to get a yay or nay on that?
We're not really imminent. I think, if we can kind of keep the buckets, our project rebuild overhead as it is, if the town doesn't have any objections to that based on, the other applications that we filed. Again, we're not planning on building that right away. It would probably be over winter that we would really have time to get into this and obviously get everyone's attention away from construction season, the other partners that we have to talk to.
So by end of year.
Probably end of the year,
Okay.
And we'll start making those calls and just start lining up the tumblers who we need to talk to and just start to continue to put those pieces together. But in a week since we've talked, so that's kind of where we're at.
Clarify what we're talking about. Originally, I thought it was just eliminating 2 poles in the
Sure.
middle, and then you start thinking about putting it
Yep.
through this quarter mile.
Correct.
So it's the 10 grand for the whole quarter
It'd be
mile.
for the whole scope, right, what we want to do.
Design.
Right.
Yeah, this is
You can't
just,
just kind of stop right here, and
I
so
see.
really, I think if we're gonna do it, since the store's connection is back,
Right.
and then the Weston, so basically we kind of open it up to what else can we do over here? I
Right.
think one of the complicating factors is the number of road crossings.
Right.
And so basically probably what we'll do when we come down Piper Hill Road, we'll get ourselves situated on the side of the road that will be the best setup, but I think it's fair to say there's probably an equal number of
Right.
service connections on either side of the road. So it was a conversation with V-Trans and what that would take.
So it starts at Piper Hill.
It would, yeah, the underground would
that's your
start,
thought
yeah,
process.
basically Piper Hill to the policeman there on the lawn.
Oh,
over
the
there.
policeman.
He was gone when I was here last time.
Yeah, he's back.
He's back. Well,
He comes back.
Okay. Pops up.
He lives in New Jersey.
But that's just based on our technical discussions and internally, and Eric McClellan, who I had with me last week, is just how far you have to go back to really
That makes sense.
have it make sense and open the door to all of the businesses.
Tell me how the average taxpayer in this town is going to benefit.
Reliability, resiliency, I mean, I guess it would be a cost share, so our goal really would be, okay, this project as we have it designed will be put into rates and all of Green Mountain Power ratepayers pay for our reliability and resiliency program. So not just this project, but projects all around that we build with approved capital, those go back into rates. If we were to do something like this, Green Mountain Power would come up with a price. This is how much it would cost us as designed, and then we would begin to net out. Okay, well, this is out of scope, and it's something that the town wanted, or was done in partnership with somebody else, and then we would start to look at, cost sharing the net of what you wanted to see as an ideal end state.
But you're still not gonna get rid of all the poles. The poles are still gonna be there because places like the post office is overhead.
If we could, again, if nobody, and that's typically how it works, and we had that discussion that day, so if nobody, if we didn't put anybody's services connections, then you would still see a pole probably nearly at every location where everyone's individual services, so we could underground to a pole, rise up, rise down, or keep someone's overhead service going. So in order to take it all down, it all has to come down. If you want to see no poles and wires at all.
But that means underground all the way, for instance, to my place, which is the last one before you get to the river.
Okay.
You'd have to go across, and I don't know how many easements and everything else are in there between the old bud shop and the road. But you have somebody else's private property, you have the community association property.
And one person not wanting to
And my
pay for
place,
it,
and
where
I
the
won't,
ratio go.
and I won't
Yeah.
want to pay for nothing.
Right.
So I think in these cases, we'll just kind of iterate, here's where we are, here was the ideal, the original scope, and then we can begin to work our way into various levels of undergrounding. There's this, interest in the library. So I think we talked about a number of things. So I don't think there's any sort of unknowns in terms of, what would be an ideal
Did I
situation.
understand you correctly when you said earlier, like, there's a house across the road, for example, that if they were to get underground service, it would be roughly 20,000 for.
It depends. I'd say that's a high watermark. I'd say $10,000 is a good
10 to 20 for
10 to
each.
20 for each house, right? And that's basically all. It depends on what their service is right now. So again, if they wanted to go underground, they wanted to upgrade their service, and so those are the conversations that begin to be had. But we know just kind of distance, underground, material meters, those types of things can.
So it sounds like this is gonna bloom into a major project.
Well, it could, but if I'm understanding right, and this is part of our process, we could theoretically just bury the service between the utility poles that are there now, just to do a thought experiment. Imagine what it could be like. And we don't underground, and correct me if I'm wrong here. But my understanding is you could underground the overall service between utility poles, right? And that's one thing. And that would still allow you, and leave those utility poles there. And then you go up and down and feed every single house, including the Weston and the country store, just the way it is now, and there would be no additional individual
Cost to the
expense
user.
or cost at all. So that's one option, and what that would do is get rid of, again, the transmission lines between the poles, but not between the pole and the individual houses, right?
Correct.
So that's one outcome of this.
You can call that the express and intercept. It's kind of the term of art we use for that. So basically just putting that mainline feed right down the road, getting that installed, but just intercepting everybody's services as they exist today.
So if we have single phase or three phase in town,
3-phase ends over there, and it also comes into the backside of the store, but it's not currently
not over here.
on the main, but it will be. The intent is to actually have a 3-phase come down Piper Hill and go right down
Okay, so that's happening regardless. of
Yeah,
this.
exactly,
Okay.
yeah.
I appreciate your time that you put into it. I'm still a little bit on the fence of what to think about it, mostly because the whole point of your project is to get out of the woods and get on a main street. And we have on Main Street accessible right now. And there was just an accident and Green Mountain, was it last night?
Last night, yes,
And we
afternoon.
almost lost power here.
Yeah.
Volvo decided to take out a pole. And it was really easy for Green Mountain to not only get there, get set up, get it fixed. And I was back online by 7, and I think the rest of the town got it around 8, something like that. So the ease of it, of being overhead accessible versus maybe putting it underground, maybe it's a little more safe. But I think it's, for me, I was thinking it was more visually appealing. But if the poles are still serving people, because not every person in the village can afford sort of a 10 to 20 hits, so I think I'm still on the fence of,
I'm trying not to have a dog in the fight.
yeah,
But it really helps me to understand, and I think that all these different options and what they're gonna mean to individual people who are being serviced, you know, in terms of what expense, out of pocket expense they're gonna have. And what the advantages are to someplace like the Weston or the Country Store, who I think would both like to have underground service. I'm just guessing, but maybe not. But our main decision is, are we gonna spend the 10,000
to investigate.
to investigate these options? And we don't need to make that decision until the end of the year, because this work isn't gonna happen until next year anyway, middle of next year probably.
How would underground in the village here, just let's use that, how would underground be superior to overhead if we were flooded? So right now, the lines are up and they're safe. If they're underground and we're still underwater, you know, not everyone, we receded pretty quickly. But not everyone recedes so quickly, and we're not sure what'll happen in the next storm. Is there any concerns?
It's not watertight, you know, construction, the conductors, you know. mold
But getting
things,
to it and,
yeah, getting to it, I think, like you say, the water recedes, it's the same thing, if we, you know, there was standing water, we couldn't drive to the pole, same thing as we couldn't, you know, drive to the, you know, so I think those safety, I think the number one advantage is the tree wire or the spacer cable that we're proposing overhead is our highest and best technology of overhead. Underground is the ultimate, right? Nothing can fall on it, and at that point, really, it'd be just a fall. But I think, you know, aesthetics is huge. You know, we use a neighboring town where I live up in Facein, but Waterbury did a big project a few years ago and did half of their main street underground and went back to the old gaslight style street lamps and those types of things. But that was when Waterbury was tearing up Main Street, you know, it was in concert. And so I think that I kind of preface that, you know, if you have anything out there that you know of, we can also canvas V-Trans. If there's anything out there that you could dovetail with, you know, then those types of projects can come together. But that's what happened in Waterbury, you know, it was all underground. That's how it sits today, half of Main Street, and it's just sort of their visual aesthetic that they were after in the village. So I think that's a big one. I think that's how our conversation.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And like your example about the Volvo, I don't think that the pole, I'm not sure about this, but I think the pole that got run into wasn't servicing any house. It was, because there aren't.
Well, it is.
No,
But it knocked
I
the
agree.
line out to the.
The pole is on the power line.
I know, but if that pole was buried,
Mhm.
no homeowner would be getting service from that pole. And there would have been nothing for the Volvo to run into, and we wouldn't have had that 7-hour or
Gotcha.
5-hour interruption, and the Volvo may not have been total, who knows, but
Got it,
you know,
yeah.
that's part of our understanding
Yeah.
this whole thing, is to figure out all these pluses and minuses, and then, you know, and we got 6 months to do it.
Yeah.
And then,
Anyway.
you know, I have one follow-up question.
Sure.
So somebody asked me,
Asking for a friend.
Somebody I know has underground lines now from the pole.
Yeah.
Here in the village. There's no additional cost to them or anything like that.
They probably paid to have their services.
Oh, no, yeah, it was,
Right, right.
it was already there in the house and
Yeah.
that's already paid for.
And we'll pick that up. So however they're served right now.
But no additional cost to
Nope.
them regardless of how this goes.
Right, and so I think that's saying to be true, other than the capital to rebuild the line, we're picking up everybody along the way, so really, no one's incurring anything extra unless they were approach us and say, hey, while you're here, we'd love to have you do this, and,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you, I appreciate
so
it.
we-
why don't we get back to the main thing that's
Right.
in this paper?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so I'm gonna move that you need this signed this evening, right?
It'd be great, or you can assign it later at the end of your business, and Sean can just email it back to me, it's fine as
Well, I'm
so-
gonna move that
Yeah.
we sign it and just to, so we can make an official decision.
Excellent.
Any further discussion?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
I,
Hi.
Alright.
Are these new poles any stronger than the ones that just got knocked over, or? are they
Ah.
pretty much-
Where's that hole that got hit?
Oh, right below the transfer station, where Jeff said he had,
One
put
hundred.
him down there below the
Oh,
transfer station,
okay.
you know where it goes out into the power line, the big line?
Yep.
It's the one right on the road,
Okay.
just there. And you can tell now, if
am
you
I
drive
using
that
your
way,
pen?
because
Or
the
no, somebody
front of
give me a
the
pen, then you
Volvo,
gave me this
the
pen.
piece
Did you?
is hanging on the pole.
Came out
Oh,
of
so
the
it didn't
door.
stop the pole, it just,
Yeah, just
They
leave it
put a
there.
whole
oh, did they, okay.
There's two.
I'm
There's
sure
two.
you've
That's
done
so
it.
hard for you.
So,
But we'll be looking at, as part of our 11/11 permit and stuff like that, V-Trans looks at offset from center line as well, so once we go and rebuild that,
Yeah.
making sure, and that's part of it. Trying to stay away from plow wings and. cars
So are you,
flying.
Tim, are you the program director, or we're just gonna send this up to you guys and
Do you
you're
want me
gonna
to
sign it?
make a copy.
Yeah, actually, I can sign right now.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, he's gonna sign it.
Here
And then
we
do you want me
go.
to just email it to you?
rock
or-
and roll.
That's more expensive. Whoa, I was never here.
Yeah. They're lying.
We could just make a
No,
copy,
we-
we can take the original, we don't need the original, we need the original.
Yeah, she's just gonna make.
Yeah.
It's up
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah.
Take her
Perfect.
copy.
Well,
Off
say-
the off the list.
Or the electron, or whatever the postage.
Like I said, I'll just keep working in the background, and we'll be back in touch
Yeah.
here as the year progresses.
While you're doing the work, is there any outage happening?
No,
No,
and
Theoretically.
we avoid the outage, as much as possible. So basically, what will happen as we rebuild Route 30 is the new poles will go in and taller, and then they'll outrig the lines, so they can, the line get out of the way, they pull in all of the new wire and energize it, and then cut off the other line.
right,
So
so,
you need to
They
retire
have a
it
big
back. So no,
tolerance.
it's all happens.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, it all happens.
Gotham City.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
We should
I
be
know.
letting
Big
people
s-
know if it's
Yep.
not gonna be that.
No, that's outages are something that require approval up the chain.
Oh, yeah. Avoid the. Your.
Thank you, Tim, that was.
All right.
that was
Thank you.
great.
Thank you,
Thanks for all
Tim.
the
Thank you.
answers.
Yeah.
Have a
Good
good
night.
night. Thank you.
My Tesla battery worked just fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right, next thing on the agenda is the tax rate approval, and, not much we can do about it, but, it's a 17-cent raise in
Jeanette and Kim.
the taxes, and, wants us to approve the 3% like filing fee penalty.
Yeah, and,
That wasn't on here anywhere, was it? Or
oh, it
just-
was right at the top of the page here.
Right at the very
The
end.
request, right,
Yeah.
but there wasn't any number.
And so, if I understand it, they're gonna be due on the 3rd, right? That's the first Thursday in October.
October, right.
And we're gonna do the 3% late filing fee, I guess. And the homestead rate went up by 2.5%, and the non-homestead went up by 4.8%. So I'm gonna I'm going to move that we approve this tax increase. And that taxes be due on the 3rd of October, and that there's a 3% late filing penalty. That's my motion.
Second,
Any other conversation, discussion?
I just asking, it's for tax year 2023.
24. Typo.
Typo.
Typo, got it.
got it. 24.
Yeah. Sorry.
Angel just comes down and says typo. Typo. Okay,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One deal.
We don't need to sign anything here, do we? It's just done. Is that right, Kim?
Correct. I just need it in the minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, now we have a river update, FEMA.
I put the presentation in the packet, but I
Yeah,
didn't know
nice.
if you had any.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know.
so quickly, we were there. Jim was there, Deb was there, Howie was there. I was there at one point, Chris was there, so everybody was there at different times. This is the presentation that they gave us on site. And it was rather quick, and
And there wasn't a whole lot of there, frankly.
Yeah.
it was really a public input and suggestion meeting, and I think that we were over expecting
Right.
what was gonna come from.
Right, I think that this was geared to towns that were a little bit behind us, actually, and we're out ahead of that, so
Yeah. I think it was for more of the public, that's
Yeah.
what I took away from it, so.
Yeah.
We went, we saw,
Concord.
we conquered,
We put dots on the,
we were, yeah,
Love
yeah,
Yeah.
how we had
Yeah,
fun
the
with the
bingo.
bingo daughter, yeah, daughter.
Okay, then we'll go Gabion Wall.
Gabion Wall, I haven't gotten anything more than this, have you guys read these things? If you haven't,
Yeah.
I got very little to say. We haven't heard anything more about them.
Yep.
From them about the timing. They're filing for an extension to their existing stream alteration permit out of an abundance of caution. And I don't know. I don't think, my best hope, which is that this work happens sooner than later, is that they'll be here next month, August.
to do the work.
To
That was
do
the
the Gabion Wall work,
Gabion,
right,
yeah.
and the work up by the church, but I haven't heard anything more from Jordan, so that's all.
And a walkabout next week.
I think there's a walkabout next week, and
So if
They're having a walk.
they don't do it this year, then the funding goes away, is that what?
that's what
That's what I.
they kept telling me. But if they don't do it this year and it's their fault because they've been dithering,
Right.
then maybe they do it next year, and that
There's,
you know.
there's a dithering clause. Huh?
I don't know.
I don't know,
If I knew all the sub clauses in the.
but they put the time into this, I mean, I don't think that they're purposely
No,
deflecting, I think it's just a
just
process,
bureaucracy.
it's a process, so.
Okay.
It's been mentioned to me that Playhouse thinks they're gonna be able to talk to the contractor and have them do some work for them while they're in here. And the person that mentioned it to me says, I think they need their own separate permit before they get the contractor. They just can't walk up to you and say, hey, while you're here, do this.
Right.
They don't believe that that's as far as I know, what they're Dave and Mike Savage, what they're looking for is when are these guys gonna show up? Cause what the Playhouse or the community association has to do is get rid of that retaining wall that the riprap comes up to and, you know, about halfway up, I think. They've gotta pull that retaining wall down, and their plan is to put more riprap on top of the riprap that the Army Corps is gonna put on, and then build a sort of a flat top to it right up to the edge of the playhouse. And then they'll use that as the walkway, which will be elevated about, you know, to basically at the level of the top of that little retaining wall, if you walk around the building.
For emergency.
But
Yeah.
I think what Denny was saying was any work done by the WCA that doesn't fall under what's being done by the Army Corps will require its own permits. Is that kind of where you were going?
That's what I
Yeah.
was questioning.
And they're Mike and Dave, they're perfectly aware of that. And, you know, I was thinking that maybe there could be some collaboration, you know, like, well, we're delivering 15 trucks of 3-foot stone for the riprap, or 5, I don't know what the number is. Maybe it would be easier to have Luciano, the Army Corps contractor, deliver that. And I think I was just naive about that. But they do need to collaborate on and coordinate on dates.
If they both get their permits and they're both ready to go, Dave should be ready
Right.
to go.
It's not really
Because we don't know what the Army Corps.
right?
It isn't our
No, but
business, except
it's
we're,
nice.
we're the guys who are dealing with the Army Corps.
Yeah.
So they sort of have to
They've
go
been
through
reporting back to us.
us,
versus-
yeah. Yeah, so
Understood.
that's all I got. Nothing more.
All right, Zoom,
Everyone's favorite.
Yeah,
So I've just been looking, it's, this system that we have going is a little bit outdated with the new open meeting laws. We are required to record and, you know, our meetings. This is hard to work with.
really.
I know, which comes as a shock. It's a shock.
well, we've been doing this for the last year.
I know. So Owl Labs is what the town of Londonderry has. It's what Jeff Brown also works with at the Vermont Country Store. Neighborhood Connections uses Logitech,
Logitech. yeah.
Logitech,
Mhm.
which is also seems nice, a little bit more techy and a lot more money. Their estimate is around $10,000, where Owl Labs is around $4,000.
And that's what this is. This is
Yeah.
the
Yes.
Logitech.
Yeah.
I've been in meetings with the owl and it works quite well.
There's also a guy out of Ludlow who I guess Kim says that we've used in the past. His name is Matt something. He said $50 an hour, he'll come in and set it all up. He estimates
Oh,
tops 3 hours.
The computer guy in
The-
Ludlow.
Yeah, Matt something.
my question was, these are just the parts,
Correct.
and so they.
And the wires and
Yeah, all the wires and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we're the guys who've got to take the mat knife and open the cardboard boxes and unpack
Correct.
this stuff. And
Or-
we've got somebody who can do it. We're not gonna do that. I've just
right. So
Being
Matt out of
facetious.
Ludlow for $50 an hour.
$50 an hour.
He said
3
it'll
hours.
probably take 3 hours.
So
So what is all of this? Is the owl bar is that
So
the
that-
screen?
The Owl Bar is like going to be kind of like the recording device. It's
Okay.
like under your TV, you know.
Mhm, okay.
The screen is something that is not on that price list. But if we just use a regular flat screen TV,
Oh, yeah.
which Jeff Brown says that he has to, Kim has also mentioned in the past that she's got an old
You
TV.
just take a flat screen and
We just take a
can-
flat screen.
okay.
We can either, you know, like mount it here or get an easel, whatever.
yeah, I've got, they make a bracket.
And the bracket is
Is
the
that the
100
bracket?
or,
Okay.
yeah.
And then it just goes up against the wall and you just pull it out. and
Yeah.
The owl
I watch
actually
the NBA
turns
tournaments.
to face.
The owl is
person
just gonna
speaking.
sit in the middle of
It
that
is a
table
little
and
scary.
whoever is talking, it rotates.
Wow.
And then it will show, like, so because I'm talking right now, you would see it on the TV screen, it would turn the camera to me and catch my voice. But if someone on Zoom was talking, it would pan to them. Or if Lisa turned to talk, you know, whoever's talking at
And it
once.
also has settings to turn the panning off.
Okay,
If you don't want it to follow if you don't want
That
that
could
kind
be
of
up.
thing.
Neighborhood
Yeah.
Connection says that they love
You get used
theirs,
to it.
and that they find that it's easy, but it is almost $10,000.
No, we don't want
I just don't think, theirs is also set up for, their smallest room is like for 25 people, which we're not,
What
very
about
rarely are we gonna have that.
Ease of use? Are we?
Yeah, that's
Everyone
what,
has-
I'm on the same boat, so do we need to have a part-time person hired to help, set up and maintain the equipment and get updates and all of that for
I do not
software?
know, well, as far as, I can call the town of Londonderry and see how they like it. Jeff, who uses it at the Vermont Country Store, says it's very
Oh,
simple,
if he's
it's
good,
pretty simple.
yeah, cause he's been struggling with the
Everyone has,
Teams
it's just
meetings
hard.
and the.
Teams is
It's
difficult.
hard, I know,
It
I
is,
know,
yeah.
I
Well,
don't blame
and
him.
Teams had a particular problem because, that security upgrade that shut down
Everything
the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
air,
Messed
all the
was
airlines.
messed with them as
That
well.
happened at the same time as our meeting, so
Yeah,
anyway,
What would, after you've done the research, are you leaning toward Owl?
I am leaning towards Owl just because
Mhm.
most of the people that I work with use Owl as well, so like, if I have Jeff on the planning committee who's familiar with it, that's nice.
Yep.
If I have,
It is?
Cheaper.
yeah.
and
so
it's way cheaper.
I'm gonna move that we buy the OWL system and, let's budget, you said $50 an hour,
That's what he said.
so, I would say that we,
Double the estimate of time.
Don't-
And I'm not
100%,
being, I'm not
no,
being
no,
really,
I'm
facetious.
thinking
Yeah.
that we ought to, let's approve, and we can talk about
Up
the
to.
amount, but up to $5,000, just to be sure about this. To get the Owl Labs thing, and let's just get it going.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
They, open meeting law.
Okay, so open meeting law
bless you, Sean.
said, I attended a legal lunch from VLCT, which was super, super helpful. There's a couple,
Does that mean that the lunch I had today was illegal?
yeah.
No, but it means that she bought her own lunch. I
Yeah,
guarantee you,
totally.
she bought her own lunch.
I don't often attend them because they don't usually have a specific topic, but this one has a topic. So, and it was great.
Perfect.
We are in compliance with a lot of things. Those are two forms that we are now required to have. Currently, we just have a link to the open meeting law statute, the law physically.
Right.
And eventually it will tell you how to file a complaint. But the new July 1st says that the town has to have their own setup for it. So VLCT offers templates. That's exactly what this is. You copy and paste town of Weston, add your select board members' names. It looks fairly simple and straightforward. If someone wanted to lodge a complaint, the complaint form's right on the back.
So this becomes a single document, in other words.
It'll be two, and I'll most
Well,
likely,
we'll sign this,
yeah,
that means that we're gonna make this available,
correct.
but if someone comes in here or calls you with a complaint about an open meeting law, do they get just this or do they get this?
Just number two.
I think they just get number two.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanna understand.
Yeah, and there will be, if you looked at the website, I think I would like to add where it says like government and then it says departments. I think it says departments or other. I would like on the bottom, when you
Oh.
click on those, I would like to just have open meeting law information. So you can also click on that and it will take you to the law, take you to this complaint form.
Isn't that,
For-
is that this right here?
No,
The
you're just
complaint
talking about
form.
on the website.
Just on the
Oh, on the-
website, when you click on the
So,
website.
Yeah.
so it would go under planning commission, it would go
Correct.
under select board, it would go
It would
under
be-
all the
yes.
departments,
Yeah.
so that there would be something
DRB.
right there.
Yeah.
So if you click on DRB, you
It's
will
right there.
see it.
Great.
And what about the 10, did they talk about the 10-day requirement for public acknowledgement? And how that was, since we only meet every 2 weeks,
Right.
okay?
Oh, so we can
um,
extend that. That's something that we, because this is just a form, so know that no one talked about that, and I didn't even catch that. So if we do
Yeah.
meet every 10 weeks, that's, or
Yeah.
2 weeks, that is something that we should change on that
Let's-
form.
Why don't we add, the public body will respond publicly to the alleged violation within 10 calendar days of their scheduled meeting after receipt
Receiving
of the complaint.
Yeah.
Say that again, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So,
says,
like-
the public body will respond publicly to the alleged violation within 10 calendar days by acknowledging the violation of the subchapter and stating the public body is determined that no violation has occurred. So in order to do those two things, I think we need to do those at one of our scheduled meetings. So what I'm saying, rather than respond within 10 days of receipt of the complaint, that we respond within 10 days of the meeting
Select board acknowledgement. of the
that follows receipt of the complaint.
So yes and no, yes, could work, but then we have to cure the violation or show it
Or
intent
deny
to,
it, yeah.
intent to cure,
Right.
if we need to, within 14 days of that. So my recommendation is, how about we just change the violation from 10 days to 15? That will automatically cover us for a 2-week period. We bring it up at the meeting, and then that allows us 14 additional days to cure the violation in some way. Because I think a lot of these are not gonna be, well, I mean, they could all be select board related, but what if it's a different department? We have to reach out to.
I'm
these
just,
other-
so let's just take this month, for example.
Yeah, that's good.
Here it is, the 24th. Let's say we receive a violation notice or a complaint tomorrow, the 25th.
Tomorrow's the 24th.
Right,
Sorry, the
Yeah.
24th, today's the 23rd. Our
We're not-
next meeting is on the 13th, right?
Which is because it's,
Because
because we're
it's-
not every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Right.
we're the
and
second
fourth.
Tuesday.
3-week things.
So we have to-
So you see
That's-
what I'm saying, and then we're gonna meet and we're gonna really address this thing for the first time on the 13th. And we may need to seek counsel, talk to lawyers and do
Yeah.
that, and that's where we need the 14 days to
to the next.
to the next one.
That's why I asked if
We
they
can't-
talked about that in the session, whether you can, stand up and go, hear ye, from the porch of the, of the town, town offices here. Or if you have to, how you handle the acknowledgement is what,
I'm not sure we
10
have a
days.
choice. This says failure of a public body to respond to a written notice of violation within 10 calendar days will be treated as a denial of the violation for purposes of enforcement under the open meeting law.
Well,
Maybe they're honing in on,
Respond can mean two things. It can mean, thank you for your complaint, we have received it.
right,
We'll
and that's,
discuss
and I
it
think
at-
you have to do that too.
And I think you have to do, and you do that immediately. When you get it,
That's the first 10 days.
that's, okay, and I have no problem with that response being at 10 days. But then at some point,
we're talking.
we gotta
5
acknowledge the
weeks
violation of
before
this subchapter and stating an intent to cure. That requires some study,
Right.
or could. Assuming that the complaint isn't frivolous.
And would we have to, or have we ever held, for lack of a better term in my own head, emergency
Yeah.
meeting? To meet the deadline.
I'm looking at the act now, I'm trying to get.
Oh, good.
Oh,
get
good.
Any specifics, but. it's
Yeah,
all-
what
it's
we're
pretty-
required to do.
It's pretty convoluted.
It was
And
very
this was a
complicated. I read it
template
online
That's a
when it
template.
came
Yeah.
out, and it
Yeah.
was-
So we can
Okay.
change it any,
Yeah, I'd have to dig into it.
I say we bring this back up at the next
Yeah.
meeting and take a little bit of time to
I'm-
review this.
I'm good with that. This is getting
Yeah, there's a lot to
too much
this,
for me.
and this is important, so
yes,
let's all take it home. We'll all,
Yeah.
Chris, maybe you can run with this one.
Yeah, I'll look at this, it's, yeah. probably.
I like the idea, so I mean, we can
We'll
Let's
just
we'll
table it.
postpone all of it, right?
Yeah.
was gonna say, cause I like the idea of putting it on the website under each department, I think that's. so
Yeah,
much
we
easier.
need to do, yeah,
Mhm.
but we also have to be prepared to deal with the person who just comes in here all in a huff.
Sure.
And
So hold on a second, if we put it under planning commission and DRB and the complaint goes to that department,
no, the form,
Oh,
the form says that you've gotta
Select-
give it to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to go to the select.
We
board.
are
Yeah.
the.
what I'm saying is that the form does not say that it has to go. She's suggesting that this form,
Mhm.
open meeting law complaint form, gets filed as a form under each department,
No,
or are you saying that the
no,
letter gets?
a link
A
to this
link to it.
form, to this form
Yeah,
is on the webpage for the planning commission, the DRB.
Right, when you go to click,
But
should be
this
on the-
form says that it has to be submitted to us, the select board, either by email
Okay.
or, right?
correct.
So
okay,
you're
so it's
not,
not each different
No,
department, okay.
yeah, there's just a place to get it.
Perfect. Yeah, let's take this back up,
Yeah.
look into the 10-day thing, I think that's harsh for us to be able to.
Yeah,
I-
that seems a little.
It's really important, because in the case of a frivolous form, somebody could just, to be nasty, could file one of these every single,
We could be doing
and,
emergency
and,
meetings.
and we'd be
Mhm.
doing emergency meetings every
Every
week,
10 days. Yeah.
every 10 days, and that's not right. But the other thing that isn't right is if there's a legitimate
Mhm.
complaint, those are tough to work out. They're always messy and complicated, and he says, she says kind of stuff, and it requires a lot of careful research, and sometimes,
And careful response. more
and careful
importantly.
response.
And not frivolous responses.
Not haphazard.
So we'll postpone.
Table.
Right, number 10, FY 23 and FY 24.
So that's just an update again. Amin today handed me his completed timesheets and some invoices for the 23. I just need to get a couple of bills we're waiting for, one from Shaves. I need to grab one from Lisa for renting the excavator. And then Lisa Donnelly still has to come and take pictures of a couple more things. Grant 24 is going to be, what is it gonna be, Land Grove Road? And that was approved, and Lisa has taken pictures and started all of that work. And I just wanted to update you on that.
Lisa Donnelly,
Yes,
yeah.
And that's what these maps are related to that.
Correct.
Attached, right?
yeah,
And is there anything we need to approve on this, or? we
Not
just
at the
acknowledge that
moment.
No,
we've
this
seen-
is sort of the passing of the baton. Almond will be able to facilitate the 24 work that needs to be done. While he may not physically do it himself, he has gotten this
Yeah.
up and going. And that sort of turns it over for the 2025
Okay,
coming up.
right.
So I think this was.
And we
awesome.
were approved, and I just wanted, to let everyone know that that is in the works.
Okay.
So this is FEMA money?
This is grants and aid. Every year, the town gets money to do improvement projects for things that are standard, below standard, things that could use improvement. So
That's why
on
I'm
pick
surprised
for,
It's FEMA money.
I'm not sure
It's
this is
not.
FEMA money.
Uh,
This is V-Trans money.
okay. Does FEMA to reimburse for?
no,
stone on
that's
one side?
something else.
Oh, that's
Chris,
further on
we
down.
did that ditching under FEMA.
Oh,
So what
That's
what they're
separate.
showing us in the map, I saw that too. I know exactly what you're
okay.
talking
Well, we
about.
don't need to get into.
Don't need to get into it.
Okay,
They've picked the other side of Land Grove Road
Mhm.
to ditch. FEMA paid, we had stone line ditches on one side, FEMA paid to sort of clean them up and put new ditching stone in.
Okay.
And so the next project is to do the other side of the road that had not been started.
Nice. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Shauna, I would hang on to this because this is gonna be invaluable.
Yeah, I
for the
have,
Next,
yeah. A file on the computer and then a hard copy in my,
Quarterly permits report from Will Goodwin.
oh, yeah,
How come we were highlighted in yellow?
because we went through our application.
Yes, I had a conversation with Will about our application for addition to the garage up there. And basically what he told me was, if we make an application, which we can do, and for example, we build the thing 40 foot long and 35 feet wide and conform to height, we can build it smaller, as long as we don't go outside the shell we apply.
We have an approval for it.
Right, we don't have to have exact measurements and this and that. I myself, I've done that before. I'll say 35 feet plus from the boundary line, up to on a building. And as long as we don't go out of that line, he said we can apply for a permit.
Okay.
I disagree. I'm not, you guys can do a,
Well, but why
You can
wouldn't
do-
we
you
apply
can-
for, you
there was
wanna have
nothing
everything
on the
exact.
permit, it was
Yeah.
blank, it was not clear what the project
And there were
was.
two different sets of measurements, I remember that
Right,
argument.
and
Yeah.
there was no setbacks at all put on
Yeah.
the paperwork.
Yeah.
So it was nobody's fault, it just wasn't complete. And I think if we're a town and we don't even have the wherewithal to put a complete application together, that's why I suggested we pull it. I have no problem putting a new one together. I will help Shauna so that she knows what it's supposed to look like for next time. It just looked unprofessional, and if anyone else had done that personally, it would have got kicked back. So that was my beef.
Because on the front of the place, we can't go any closer to the road, but we can come even with the garage, because right now, the building was put there in the mid-60s.
Non-conforming.
It don't conform. So the way I understand the existing zoning laws, we can come out to the front even with it. We can't come any closer to the road. But we can come to the front, because that's what they did with the garage up here.
We can get the permit.
What someone said was, well, let's just let Will fill it out. I think it's a conflict of interest to let the zoning administrator fill out a building permit application for the town and then turn around and it just, the whole thing was wrong, in my opinion. I just wanted to do it the right way, that was all.
Yeah.
So I will,
So we're good with getting it done the right way?
absolutely,
But these aren't in conflict unless
No, I don't think
Because anything what you're saying are not in conflict. We just need to
I don't know.
apply in
No.
advance, but just have a little more information on the permit. right?
Yeah, she wants more information, and like I said, I talked to him, he said you just need a shell. You don't have to be exact with the length,
Right,
no, width, just so long as you don't say this is the front of the old
right, as long
garage,
as you're not.
you don't come this way too far,
Okay.
you'll back.
so. You and Sean are gonna do that, is that right, or?
If you all want to file a building permit now, before we have a contractor, I'm fine with it.
Well, the whole reason for applying for this permit now is if we get a contractor, they can get up and go. If we wait till we get a contractor and then we apply for a permit and somebody raises an objection and delays the project, delays it, I know how them things can go. But if you guys wanna wait.
No,
I'm not opposed to getting it done, Denny. You have to, if you had seen the application that was all put in front of us, it was
We saw yeah, it was,
inappropriate.
it was a
and
little sketchy.
so we're gonna clean it up and resubmit it, and we'll be ready to go, right?
Yes,
Cool.
I think that would be.
Do we need a motion to that effect, or that just, I don't, it sounds to me
No, I
like
think we just
do it, yeah, okay.
Alright, then we'll go on to number 12. not permanent mode.
Oh, that's the funding.
Is that what 12 is?
12 is,
What's it-
that
That all the,
changes to Act 250.
Oh,
This is
okay.
just
more
Okay.
FYI stuff.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and I hate that.
I think everybody does, even the ones who love it.
Yeah,
Well, this is
So
more
for a
from the
lot of-
DRB, right?
yeah, and
And
probably
planning
will,
commission.
yeah. Also, I think I was reading in there, some of the things they've kind of loosened up a little bit, so. You know, you have a small half-acre lot, and it used to be you could only have one dwelling. And now it looks like you can have two pretty easy, and matter of fact, if you had a little bigger piece and you had a little more room to work with, you could do 3 and 4. Which is,
But they're asking
Crazy.
for trouble.
they may very well be, but the goal was to increase the amount of available housing and
Housing and allow an
accessory
in-law
dwellings are
apartment or
now
something.
more like
Yeah.
secondary actual units.
Anyway, so
Yeah,
I'm
there's a lot
gonna
to
go,
it, but I think that some of the changes were loose.
not
Right.
cluster housing.
but we're gonna, you know,
We
what,
can't
this
change
is
it.
just pointing us toward
FYI.
that link, you know, outside Vermont Gov agency, AC, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so we'll go on to personnel policy 13.
Um,
I know this can be somewhat convoluted to go through this whole thing again, but I'm willing to take notes. See, what you got sent, that Shauna sent was the latest marked up version. You know, so we can still see who said what to whom. And, you know, they included, I think, probably most significantly, a handful, I call it a handful anyway, but page anyway from Kim
mhm.
of technical corrections to various sections that had to do with, you know, town responsibilities and that sort of thing. And then a few corrections of ors and fours and stuff like that. And so those were noted in there. And then Lisa, in response to our sort of side on this, to put in something for the select board to have authority over the work of the road crew in particular.
On your first page here, Howie, 1.3.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if town clerk should be replaced with road commissioner.
No, that's for Kim, right?
No, that-
Kim's responsible for her
For
administrative.
her
groups,
administrative
and I-
people, because we broadened the personnel policy to cover everything. But the next sentence after that, the road foreman is the primary supervisor
and she
of
is.
the full-time highway. And, you know, this gets so wordy because I was trying to please everybody in the world, but it can be, you know, streamlined to some extent. But the road foreman is the primary supervisor for
Yeah,
the road crew, bottom line. And Kim's the primary supervisor for her folks.
Yes.
And we
yes.
don't say anything specifically about our folk, so to speak, but, you know, she's taken care of in any case.
Our folk.
Yeah, our folk.
Unfortunately, I
Yeah.
had computer malfunction. I just tried to pull it up on Shauna's, I cannot. And even if I could, my printer is also out of ink. So bad day all the way around. I have a bunch of just typo kind of things.
If you wanna send that to me.
I love people who do typos, because I don't even care about it. However, for those
So
people who
sorry.
do, I love to get the input from them, so that I don't have to worry about it. That's a
Perfect.
great thing, yeah.
If you send it to me, Lisa, then I can add it
Yeah.
into the clean
Okay,
draft. That would be
got
great.
it.
Thank
And
you.
then- and that's what I was gonna say, is that once we get through,
Mhm.
you know, that
Yeah.
each is, Shauna's gonna put it into something that looks like this.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
which
we're,
is a
we're
clean,
getting
you
really,
know, no bolding, no
yeah,
underlining.
right.
A lot of those side notes are gone, except where it was suggested that we
Yeah.
leave a note of some kind. And it looks a lot cleaner and professional than this thing that
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
unleashed on you all here.
yeah, I think most of mine was foreman related, and I misunderstood the last meeting because I thought we agreed to take out Juneteenth and leave Columbus in with a total of 12. I know we're gonna have this
I was
discussion
laughing
again.
at myself so many times when I was in that
So
section.
can you go back to the meet, to see what we said about that? We were kind of playing around, and what I remember was Juneteenth versus Indigenous Peoples' Day. And
Oh, no, I remember specifically, we said, no Juneteenth, no Columbus Day.
that's all I wanted to
And that's what
verify.
that's exactly what I remember saying. And then,
I'm going with Howie.
because I went back to my notes, and I said, I can't believe I can't even read them, but I remember what was said
Sounds like my
at the
handwriting.
time, so, yeah. Which we may want to relook later in our life as a select board,
Yeah.
but we can,
So it's 9 holidays plus 2 floaters is what.
I think
what
that's a
is
good way to end, to say that, yes, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
somehow I had it as 12, so, okay,
6-1.
So we're okay with the 1-3 thing, right? Okay, so 6-1. Yep,
Okay. The town does not pay for the drug test. I just had my drug test last week, and I questioned the guy quite extensively because he didn't show up the week before when I was there. And apparently this company contracts with the state, the federal government is footing the bill for it. And just for him to show up, have me pee in a cup, he puts it in a couple containers and they send it off to somebody. And I don't know if this includes the lab or not, but that simple little procedure costs federal government $1,350.
oh, I'm not surprised, yeah, it's
Oh,
outrageous, yeah.
see, and I thought VLCT, that was part of some
Well, that's the way,
package that we.
that's the way he
Yeah.
explained it to
Yeah.
me, he broke it down.
But
Yeah,
But the
Bottom line
town
is-
doesn't have
Not
to
us.
pay,
we're
the
not-
employee doesn't have to pay.
well,
the employee. yeah.
Okay, so this should be, is paid for, by the federal government?
DLCT or something.
I,
What does it say on that form
Put
that
anything.
Norman gives you?
Yeah,
Or
let's
did he
just
give
take it out.
Yeah, I
give
think
me a
that's
form.
fair.
shall not
Yeah.
be the responsibility
yeah,
of
he
the
gave me that,
employee
yes.
and leave it
I
it
think
doesn't
that's what
say-
was,
yes, shall
Should we put in
Not
something,
be
It doesn't say who paid for, does it? Did you see? Did you notice?
of the employee. That way we don't have to
Or-
name
and-
who pays for
yeah,
it.
and is not the responsibility of the employee.
Qualified by a state to conduct such testing and shall not be the responsibility of the,
well, it's the responsibility of the employee to show up, but and pay, but not pay.
Not to pay, yeah.
Right.
Say. I mean, it just says federal drug testing, custody and control form.
That's it.
Quest is our,
Yeah,
yeah,
why don't we just say, such testing shall not be paid for by the town or the employee?
Yes.
Then, and we don't care about
Who
any of
pays
these
for
details. Yeah. It's not us and it's not the employee. So I've got a question. When you get, I mean, Jenny shows up at 7 o'clock in the morning at the town garage to pee in a cup and nobody shows up. So he hangs around for a half an hour talking to me, but I mean, and we had a great drive around town after that, but there should be a penalty for that. I mean, you're wasting at least an hour of an employee's time.
definitely. And he didn't, like, I don't know what contact information he has, but he just left. The only way I knew that he wasn't coming is he called here at 6:40 when he was supposed to be there in 20 minutes and left a message on the machine here. So like, I wouldn't have known, like, I don't call before I come in to check the messages.
No,
Well,
there's,
not only
You
that,
know,
but
like,
he's given conflicting information, because he said the higher ups called him at 9 o'clock in the morning from up in Burlington, when he was up in Burlington, asking why he didn't show up in Weston. And they had forgot to put it on his,
yeah, because they called, Teresa called me and said, we don't have any results. I said, because Carl didn't show up. And they were like, what? I was like, yeah.
You're
we
fighting a battle,
rescheduled.
you're not gonna win, it's a
Yeah.
requirement at the federal level that these testings happen.
But
And I
I think
haven't
if you put in either a complaint letter or something like that, that eventually accumulates in their files to the point that they may feel compelled to reply.
Yeah.
that or it can backfire on you, and they'll be hounding you every other month.
Right,
No, really,
be careful what you ask for.
yeah.
yeah,
So
okay, I'll
you're
withdraw my
considered a
question.
town employee, because you care this like.
Because
No.
he is a CDL and drives the truck in
Oh,
case.
oh,
of
In
emergency.
emergencies, I move equipment around,
Right.
put up road closed signs, I'm driving town equipment, so I'm covered on the insurance. Somebody wants to say, you don't need, fine, I don't have to show up and do a beat test.
Yeah, okay.
One of those intermittent
One of those,
employees.
yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah,
I was looking for the section about, well, the comp, you know, the, and the,
leave and,
Workers' comp.
no, I'm talking about just the wages and the part where we're allowed to meet and, hire somebody at
Do a
what they're
direct
making.
contract or,
Yeah, is that that's in the memo that we gave to Kim? Or is that in here?
that's not in here, that doesn't ring a bell with me with regards to, there's nothing specific in here about salary
Okay,
levels or
so that's in the
Yeah,
thing that
yeah,
we
yeah.
signed with Kim,
Yeah.
I'm sure, okay.
which,
Okay,
which is an employment letter or something like that,
yeah,
which is another
was it
thing.
2 meetings ago, remember we decided we were gonna, maybe 3 meetings ago, we decided we were gonna increase the comp, and then we also had a thing in there where we could, for a new employee, we could equal their,
Yeah,
their
and that's,
existing offer.
and that even in my experience, that would be more of a comptroller or a treasurer or budget requirement as opposed to a personnel thing.
Right, so that's a budget thing, but
Right,
we're the guys who
that's right.
make the
yeah.
budget, so.
but we
Okay.
specifically said we wanted something in the personnel policy that allowed for the select board to do a one-on-one contract if it in any way, that one-on-one contract was not 100% to these guidelines, was that not?
Something like that, yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
No,
No.
no,
All we were talking about was allowing the people interviewing help to be pretty flexible, because under the conditions we're at now, some of these people may not jump if they've got they've got benefits and they have stuff from the bottom.
Vested in, they've got the full vacation, they're making, they're not making the starting wage, they're making the experienced wage, and we've got to be able to.
yeah,
I got it, I got it.
yeah, it's in the administration
Yeah,
effective
1.4.
Oh, okay,
I think.
When a
yeah.
conflict exists between the policy, this policy, and any documented agreement of individual employment contract, the latter will have precedence.
okay,
Perfect, that's kind of what we talked about, and that's exactly how it should read.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm fine.
I want to say even in the final, when I finalized it, I don't think any of that changed at all. Where conflict exists with who have precedence, so, and that does give the ability to be able to do individual contracts with an employee, because you're the hiring authority. Is the select board, okay, for the road crew people, okay? And it gives that same type of authority to Kim with regards to her people.
That's correct.
Okay. That was good. I like that. Other,
There any other stuff you want us to, I was able to just skim this thing, honestly, I didn't go through it and find you from it. How you've done a monumental job here, I've gotta say. Hats off to you, my hat's off to you. And Chris is clearly
Chris is
off,
already off.
yeah,
Yes.
and that's a full-on steel
Well,
hat,
and,
so.
and there's a lot, and there's probably still a lot of things that, that we could either include or exclude or whatever
But
from
I
the
think we gotta
policy,
get
but I think we need one.
We are,
ASAP.
we're gonna get a legal review, that's right.
Yeah, we had talked about that the last time, that we're gonna sign it under, and then verbally, say that, you know, pending a legal review, we'll send off to the, I think
Merrill
you
Bench,
suggested to
yeah.
the town attorney,
Yeah,
Yeah.
whoever the right person is.
that's Merrill Bench, yeah.
Yeah,
We need the personnel lawyer to look at it.
and it actually should be, but if we do that, then, you know, actually, we just need to be careful what we're asking for, you know?
Yeah, well,
We
exactly.
have 5 employees here,
Yeah,
you know, that we,
Just as long as nothing's illegal.
yeah, I don't
Do
think
we,
that would be.
do we
the case.
have to have Meryl look it over? I mean,
Yeah,
we didn't change
important.
enough things to,
Yeah.
I don't think it
we
was
feel
ever
like
looked
that's
at.
a concern.
Well, I think-
Harry.
I just,
I think as long as we limit it to, you know, if, you know, like 3 or 4 hours, we're not acting for asking for a legal opinion on this or a fine tooth comb, we just wanna make sure that
Are there
there's nothing
any hot button issues or red flags?
that have come up.
Okay, why don't we do this?
Yeah.
First, rather than spend money on Merrill, why don't we send it up to Vermont League's towns first, see what they have to say about it.
Good idea.
Is there a process for that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can send it. I think
Yeah.
we get 2 free hours of legal
Yeah.
aid.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
Start.
That's a really good idea.
before we sign it? Or?
I'm glad to do it after we sign it.
Yeah, I think there's maybe some energy around having a signed policy.
I think there's a lot of
And if
energy.
we have to change it, there's nothing wrong with going through and changing it because of the legal
Absolutely.
review. I mean, this thing was a dozen or more years old.
I
before we
guarantee you
started.
it won't be worse than what we've got now.
Yeah.
So.
Oh,
That
well,
way there.
I'm not so sure. You'd be surprised.
All right,
Yeah.
we got payroll.
Do we need to make any motions? Are we good?
Yeah, do we want to sign this? There's a clean back page that nobody has talked about. Shauna is going to update the typos.
I move we sign that clean page just to get it done. Cause we got 3 weeks till our next meeting. Sean will clean it up according to so my motion is that we sign this page with the understanding that Shauna will do the updates that we discussed at this meeting. And after that, we'll
And a
run it up to
VLCT
VLCT for a quick review.
We 3 weeks till our next meeting.
And is that,
August 13th is the
yeah,
next
is
one.
that fair, Shauna, for you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
There's a motion, is there a second?
I'm not gonna say.
Oh, second.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, on the 13th and then every 2 weeks after that. Then
well, it's the second
It's the
Tuesday
second and the 4th,
and
so
the
it doesn't.
4th Tuesday of every month. So
I only understood that about the week ago myself. So.
I am working tomorrow. And then I am gone for 1, 2,
Are we all
3,
signing a different one?
4 days.
No, oh, we might be here. We'll sign that one.
well, this is not the clean copy one. Do you have the clean copy?
I do. Oh, no,
Okay.
this is the one we want
This
to
is the
sign.
one we want to sign, okay.
Yeah.
Get this back to Chris.
And you'll just have to make sure that that fits.
Correct.
And you have the clean that I sent, right? I don't know if it's any
Yes.
better than yours or.
I
If
have
we
it.
were able to merge
Get
them
Chris
together.
to
I'm gonna try.
Chris.
Put this on my list of accomplishments.
Yeah, it's a good,
Yeah,
it's a
that's a
good
good
job.
Here.
Now that we know what your strengths are, now look out.
Yeah. Careful, careful, we wanted to leave this meeting with a good.
Yeah,
feeling,
we
not a
want them
bad
happy,
feeling.
yeah. I make a motion that we sign check warrant report number 14 for payroll in the amount of $7,885.78.
I'll second that one. Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll make a motion that we sign accounts payable check warrant report number 14 in the amount of $27,736.79.
Chris.
I'll second.
Sorry.
You left me hanging.
Everyone was on top of the first one, but
Chris, grab that pen back. I gotta give it back to Denny before I get my arm cut off here. Hey, my arm's in play here. Coming around to it.
Aye, all those in favor on the accounts payable?
Aye.
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 And finally, I make a motion to approve accounts payable. Well, this is the flood account.
Oh, okay.
Accounts payable check warrant number 14 flood. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, 14. B as in boy. In the amount of $937.64.
I'll second that one too.
making it easy on my notes, guys.
Perfect.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Well,
Anybody have any old business?
One piece on the generator, and I don't know how we wanna handle. Almond is finishing up the platform and all that. None of that's really a problem. We kind of talked about this the last time, but it's gonna cost a little more than their estimate. And I'm just guessing, because the guy hadn't got back to me to tell me an additional cost, but I'm guessing we're talking a few $100s for whatever.
Didn't we do
cable
an
and
up
labor.
to, when we
Nah, it was,
approved that?
no, we approved, their bid was for 15 something, and we said we'll give them half at the beginning and half at the end. Once it's installed, so we already gave them the first installment. And then when we came out and visited, their estimate was to put it next to the river.
Oh, okay.
Over here,
Yeah,
and so it's gonna, and I didn't think that stuff like that costs a lot, except I got an electrical estimate. I was gonna have some electrical work done at my house. And it's cheaper for me to put in a new panel and a shorter run of line than it is for them to run a longer line from the old panel to where I want the electricity,
wow.
because of the cost of the cable and stuff like that. So I don't doubt that there's gonna be some other cost, but we're talking, my guess is $500.
So do we need a motion?
I think we
That's
have.
what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
I'm gonna move that we authorize an additional $1,500
That's a good
for
guess.
the generator installation for town office.
And well, I don't know if I should.
Chris is
second-
gonna second that.
Yeah.
Second that.
Yeah,
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Alright, personnel executive session, please.
Oh, before we do that,
What's
a
this?
piece of new business, so I got an email the other day. There's a new fund, that the state, Doug Farnham is overseeing a new fund of money, new pot of money. And I don't know where the money came from. I tried to do a little research today at where this money came from.
That was the weirdest email.
I'm so sorry. I don't know
No,
what
it's okay.
happened.
That's not your
Shauna and
fault.
I were back and forth
It's
about
like
this fund, and all of a
the mystery
sudden
money.
Chris jumps
Cause
in.
it was the strangest
And
email.
she doesn't have it on her end, but I have it on my end. And so,
Just tell them to send a check.
right.
Give us
so-
the money.
So
We'll
anyway,
take
long
it.
story short, there's a new pot of money, and what the state decided to do was to send it out to communities in Vermont. And while Doug didn't have the exact number, he said approximately $20,000 he believes will be coming to the town of Weston. There are a couple of parameters that we need to be aware of. This cannot be a piggyback to the 75% that FEMA has paid for repairs. And he gave me a couple ideas of things that other towns are doing. So something very simple was putting it in the general fund and leaving 1 penny of everybody's taxes. I'm just being kind of vague here. Also, I said, well, what about like setting up like an EMD fund? Shauna was thinking to pay an EMD, and I was thinking more along the lines of like in an emergency, people need things. They might need a night or two at a hotel. They may be displaced, they may need something. We could also, the Rod and Gun Club has been fantastic to us. Offering their facility for a warm place to go that has a kitchen and a bathroom. So I was thinking of just something along those lines of either something that would be really beneficial is the only thing the Rod and Gun Club doesn't have is internet. So maybe making a contribution to facilitate internet so that it can be one of our emergency locations.
Oh, I like that.
So, and it probably wouldn't take all of, I mean, certainly it wouldn't take all of the money, but
No,
ideas like that. The other thing that I found in this process was we sent people to Kim and Jeff's to stay that were displaced. Kim and Jeff did not really get reimbursed. They were kind and generous and maybe the people, you know, gave some portion
Create
of
a
money, but
fund with it.
yeah, so anyway,
Do we have an
something
emergency
along.
fund already?
Not for this type of thing, and I just thought, this is just my suggestion, there's a host of other things that we may need in the town. It was just a way that we could be prepared. I ran out and bought every 24 pack of water I could find. I know other people in town were doing the same to try to provide water, food. You know, Kim had to feed all these people that she didn't expect to be there. And so I just thought maybe that might be a good area to go, but I don't think we need to decide now. All I think I'm telling you about this is we need to tell Kim where to put the money, and so I think it just has to be in a
I think we ought to put it in an emergency fund for the moment, and then we can
figure it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
we certainly can.
because this is a lot like what Just Neighbors or Neighborhood Connections does. I mean, they do direct grants. all
Kim
the
said
time.
they got reimbursed on a deeply discounted rate.
Yeah.
I basically.
Is that what that
yeah,
was? I
I-
got in my
Yeah.
pocket?
But that wasn't from the town. The town didn't reimburse her.
Yeah,
And the people aren't in a position to say, oh, let me run down to the bank and pull it, you know, a tragedy has happened or, and it may not even be a flood next time. It could be internet outage, it could be power outage. So
yeah.
just keeping a little,
Maybe we can use it to switch the stop sign, you know. Hill to Lane Grove Road.
I really think we could probably invest in one red sign. So, anyway, that was my thought, and if anyone has anything else, the money should be dispersed in the next 5 to 7 days. They're
Wow.
saying, push it, get it out there, get it in the
Yeah.
hands,
Yeah,
and.
so let's put it in an emergency fund
I think you said
and we
we
can
decided.
talk about, it. yeah.
Okay,
One thing is still here, you alluded to, the Rod and does not have a check.
Okay.
The way you spoke.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
said one thing we don't have.
one thing they don't have, well, I know they don't have internet, but I know that, when you put displaced people in a location,
You gotta have it
if you
generated.
have a cell phone in Weston, you gotta have internet, you gotta have internet, period.
Yeah,
So that was just, yeah,
But they
generated,
need to
another great
generate it,
idea.
yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to touch it now, it's at the select board discretion on where to put the funds and then how we disperse them, so those were just a few ideas, and I rolled it back at Doug Farnham, and he's like, great idea, so I think we're onto something there, but there's plenty of other places that.
and this
also
is
could use
roughly
some-
20 grand.
You think?
He
Yeah.
told me roughly 20,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
You can double the select board salary for a year.
Whoa, hold up, I
Take
feel.
it easy, Chris.
Yeah.
Now, we'll
That would
save,
be a quarter of it,
yeah,
right?
but we'll save that for Nikki Pfister every 5 years. She recommends that the select board get a raise.
So she does.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
it's on
fair.
their calendar.
Are we not up for a raise this year?
We might be. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Tim
so,
Seymour did it the last time, as I recall, but anyway.
Good deal.
No, she-
I'm sorry, I don't mean, Linda Aldrich did it. She looked around and said, will that increase our taxes?
She did.
She did. That's on the truth.
Well,
All
it's-
right, we gotta go into
Yeah,
executive session.
Okay, so 9:52, right? 58?
8:52.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 8:50.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it's 9:52, yeah.
yeah, we gotta call it.
Yeah, okay.
Hi, Cam.
She already ditched us.
Oh, she just,
Yeah.
she was done,
Yes.
so.